Welcome, everybody. This is the Academy of Adoption and Assisted Reproduction Attorneys, our series on our individual states and their state laws and introducing you to the fellows in those states. Today, we've got Michigan. We're extremely excited to be talking about it because they had a massive change in their law and we haven't been able to do this video before. So we're excited to introduce you. We'll start with Beverly. If you could introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Beverly Cox. I am located in Toledo, Ohio, but I'm licensed in Michigan and Ohio. I was originally licensed in Michigan in 1990, and I've been waiting for them to pass this new statute since about in 2005 when I started doing assisted reproductive law. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited to move forward in Michigan.
Great. And Ellen?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Essig and happy to be here today to talk about the new laws about surrogacy in Michigan. I've been a fellow of the Academy since first in 1994, and I've been working with parties building their families through third-party reproduction since the early 90s. Over these decades, I've seen wonderful stories about families being built through third-party reproduction, but I've also seen how outdated laws can pose problems for people. And so that's why this new Michigan statute is such a big deal, and I'm excited to be talking about it today.
Great. Thank you. And Meryl?
Hi, everyone. I'm Meryl Rosenberg, and I too am so excited about the possibility of now being able to safely build families together in Michigan. I, like some of you, have been licensed in Michigan actually for probably a little longer, since 1986. So I have been waiting a really long time to be able to do what I love in the state of Michigan. I've been practicing in the field of assisted reproductive technology and building families in other manners as well for about 32 years, and so happy to bring that experience to the state of Michigan, where we can build families now safely with protection for the children born this way and helping all of you trying to build your families that way. So I'm excited to work with all of you here and talk more about how we can do that. So thank you for having us today.
Thank you. And what Meryl failed to mention is she is our current president of the Academy of Adoption and Assisted Reproduction Attorneys. We appreciate your service, Meryl. Alexis, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Alexis Sorrell. I am licensed in Michigan and in New York. I live in New York, but I went undergrad and law school at University of Michigan. So my heart is in two places, Ann Arbor, but the state at large. And this is such an exciting time. New York and Michigan happen to be the two states that were most recent in having this kind of revolutionary law change as it pertains to protections for families built this way. So I really have a privilege of seeing how it's rolled out in both states and helping to shape the implementation of it, which has just been my joy and looking forward to doing more.
Wonderful. All right, so let's introduce the law a little bit. We all just glowed about it. For the video's sake, I am not licensed in Michigan, so I'm here just to find out what it is we need to know about Michigan for everybody. And Meryl, what was the big shift? What was it before and why we're so excited what happened now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will say prior to this law, surrogacy was not legal in the state of Michigan. And we're talking about surrogacy right now, but I think it really is critical to understand that the people that worked so hard on this legislation made sure that it incorporates protections for all individuals building their families through assisted reproduction and surrogacy. So it was a much bigger law than just around surrogacy. So that's what's so exciting about it. We could not do it legally before in Michigan, and also making sure there's a legal path for all individuals building their families that way.
Great. And so Meryl said all individuals, all families. So Alexis, is it an LGBT friendly state for surrogacy and reproductive law?
Absolutely. And it's one of the best things about the new statute here is that it's just colorblind, sexual orientation blind, marital status blind, none of that matters. It applies equally to individual or married intended parents who seek to build their family this way, which is just absolutely leaps and bounds above where far and above where we were in Michigan before, but even beyond what other states have done. So we went from being very, very antiquated to very forward thinking in our implementation of this law. We also don't have any requirement that there is a genetic connection, for example, between intended parents and the child when built through art or assisted reproduction forms like surrogacy. So that really does open up a whole broader option for same-sex individual and couples for pursuing parentage this way without the need to have to do some kind of a second parent adoption or step parent adoption after birth.
Great. So Beverly, I know it's new and we keep stating that, but so I know you're creating a system, the state's figuring out what this looks like, but a lot of people go through these videos as intended parents trying to figure out what does the parentage process look like? Is it a place I can be in? Do you have any insight we can give yet to the public on that?
Sure. So, not to jump into any other area, but just to kind of give a little background on who can bring a case in Michigan for parentage. As long as one of the parties is a resident of the state of Michigan, then you could bring your parentage action in Michigan. And the statute has made it pretty easy. The actual implementation, we're working it out right now still, but the statute provides that you have to have a contract, and there are, of course, certain requirements of that contract. But once the contract is drafted and it complies with Michigan law, it really just requires a petition from the intended parents, accompanied by certifications from the attorneys who are involved or who will certify that the contract is in compliance with the law, and then just verifications from the parties that they're entering into this voluntarily and knowingly. And the court is required then to issue the parentage order under the statute
Okay.
without
And
a
of course,
hearing.
a contract requirement. We kind of skipped that, but when people are fishing through the different states, that's one of the basic requirements across the board. So we're trying to give them the information state by state. Ellen, with it being such a new law, is there an advantage for people picking Quad A specific attorneys, our fellows, over other attorneys?
Well, that's a good question. And obviously the answer is yes, because you want to have someone who knows the law and has experience, broader experience in this field. It is important to note that the statute requires that both attorneys be licensed in Michigan. And one of the things I have found in this contract phase is that people get started not understanding what some of the basic initial requirements are of the statute. Michigan representation is one of them. Also, you need to have a physician from Michigan opine as to the suitability of the surrogate to be a surrogate. And then also the psychological evaluations that are being done need to be done under a particular set of circumstances, one of which is that that person either be licensed in Michigan or a member of SIPAC, which authorizes them to practice in Michigan. So that's such an early consideration that people often will come to their attorney late in the game with those pieces already be completed and they have to be redone. So it is important to have someone like a Quad A attorney who knows what is required early on in the process.
Wonderful. Now, I think for the purposes of the public, I want to have one of you just comment on the fact that while it may be a new law, there was a lot of effort put behind this bill. I know nearly all of you worked on it, right, at some point.
So, Kim, I would love to jump in. Yes, I think it wouldn't have happened without a lot of boots on the ground there and particular organizations, and also attorneys in who are fellows of the Academy. And You said something so important, which is experience. So while this is a new law, as you said, we bring to bear all of our years of experience to understand how to draft contracts and what that representation really means and what it looks like, and to give that kind of advice around what Ellen was talking about with respect to the mental health professionals and qualifications and physicians as well. But I think without that depth of experience, you may not really know necessarily how to interpret some of what feels like to us pretty straightforward provisions of the law, including what Bev was talking about with respect to getting the judgment of parentage and other items that are there, and also the history of the legislation and what was intended. I think it's really important to keep that in mind. It was really important for Michigan to have a law that had Michigan licensed attorneys, meaning the attorneys fully are licensed that are drafting the contract and reviewing the contract and representing the attorneys throughout that process. So I think it's just so important to work with experienced individuals like our fellows.
Great. Anything else with Michigan we should bring up? Did I leave out any of the major pieces?
The only thing I will also add, sorry, is that with the birth certificate, that what happens is you get your judgment of parentage ideally during the pregnancy, and then when the baby is born, essentially, you will then have a birth certificate issued in the names of the named recognized legal parent or parents.
And is Michigan slow with birth certificates or quick?
It's so new. I think we're waiting to
Okay.
see,
You're
We don't
waiting
know
to
yet.
see,
we
okay.
just have our pregnancies now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, and those are the weird questions, right, that come up that people are swimming through. They always want to know just how fast everybody can do everything. But government offices, we don't control. That's the one thing lawyers need to tell everybody. We appreciate all of your time, everybody. You most likely got to this video by going to our website for the Academy, and we appreciate that. And I highly recommend that you go from state to state. If you're looking at various states, listen to the videos of our different Academy members and get the advice that you need. And take your time picking a lawyer, although you're safe with any of the ones on this screen. So thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you,
And
Kim.
Thank you,
You
Kim.
can.
Thanks for doing this.